All right, guys. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Jake James and Friends. I'm your host, Jake James. Today, we're chatting with a super talented comedian who does it all, Zac Amico. Zac, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, brother.
All right. So, Zac here is a comedian, a broadcaster, and a filmmaker from New Jersey who's killing it in New York City. You might have seen his work on Comedy Central, SiriusXM, and True TV's Impractical Jokers. Zac has done several movies with the famous indie production house Troma, working on cult classics like Shakespeare's Shitstorm, Return to Nuke Em High Volume 1 and 2, and Grindsploitation 3 Video Nasty. He's been on some awesome podcasts, including Zac Amico's Midnight Spookshow, Real Ass Podcast with Louis J. Gomez, and Bye Guys. He's been a guest on Legion of Skanks and the legendary Kill Tony episode with Ric Flair. And, if that's not enough, he's a professional wrestling manager for Catalyst Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Magic. And of all places, today, we're in Lexington, Kentucky, where Zac is performing at a Don't Tell comedy show. Zac, how you like it, Kentucky, man?
I'm enjoying it. I went out for karaoke last night.
Really?
In Louisville. Had quite a time. It was a great white trash people watching experience.
Okay.
I did Sweet Transvestite and really split the room.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask how that went over.
Yeah, really split, really did the crowd.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fun, though.
Okay, yeah, that's a good time. When was the last time you did karaoke?
Oh, I do. It's something I enjoy doing.
Is that something you do when you're on the road? It's like
it's an easy, fun thing to go do.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So, is this your first time in Kentucky?
Yeah, this is my first time on this run.
Are you on tour right now? Is that what brought you out here? You're just kind of doing a traveling run, or how's that going?
Yeah, I'm on my Amico Apocalypse tour.
Okay.
Going in and out around the country for the next few months.
How many stops are you doing? Do you know?
We're still adding dates, but it's probably going to wind up being about 25.
About 25. Okay. What's it take to really put something like that together?
A lot of just contacting people around the country, trying to find venues and then see what routes make sense.
Okay.
I have a booking manager who helps me take care of it.
Yeah.
And, I do consider myself a bar comic.
Okay.
I like bars better than clubs.
What makes you like bars better than clubs?
I'm a storyteller comic, and
Okay.
I feel like I can bring people in. There's less expectations.
Yeah.
And with a comedy club, you kind of get people that just like the club or people that get emails from the club.
Yeah.
As opposed to a bar show.
Where people are truly there for you.
They're either
right?
there for me or they have no idea what's going on, and that's a whole other fun thing.
Okay, cool. They're just that you at least know they're comedy people, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of club shows, you get people on dates, and sometimes you get those random older couples,
bachelorette parties.
Yeah,
just not the most attentive people.
People who don't really know how to act right in these environments once in a while too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And with the bar, they're already drinking. There's no drink minimum. There's no. It's less of the business side, more of the fun side.
Okay, yeah, no, I like it. I've never really thought about it from that perspective. Like I was telling you before the show, I use these podcasts as a little bit of a selfish in to kind of learn some things from people like you who are so far ahead of me in this game. I like to hear those little tidbits. It really helps, and I know a lot of the people who watch this show are new comics and young comics, so it's good to hear stuff like that. We all have those big grand visions of performing in arenas and at the Tempe Improv in Phoenix where I'm from, things like that. But like you're hearing that, it's really good to hear that like you truly can, if you build your own following, just go wherever you want and do your thing, right?
Yeah, the gatekeepers in the industry are gone now that the internet's taken over.
Yeah.
There's no reason that you have to do clubs. You can book your own black box theaters, small rock clubs, music venues.
Yeah.
Anywhere that's got a stage and a microphone and a PA system could be a great comedy show.
Good to go.
If it's sat well and there's low ceilings and they keep it dark, that's all that matters.
I love that. No, so like we're here in Lexington, Kentucky right now. I'm from out in Phoenix, and obviously the scene out there is pretty incredible, and there's a lot of bar shows out there, and those are always my favorite ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. A really funny kid from Phoenix is I believe it's from Alabama. I'm thinking of Tristan Campos.
Oh, okay.
Very, very funny kid.
There's a Tristan from Phoenix though. He's a Kill Tony Golden Ticket winner.
That's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He lives in New York right now.
Yeah. Tristan's great.
Yeah. You know Tristan, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw him for the first time in a tiny, tiny room in Chandler, Arizona in 2018. I don't know. He must have been 20 at the time or something, and he's been hilarious to kind of see his growth.
He's super, super funny. I really like him a lot.
Yeah. So Phoenix is fun because there's a lot of those diamonds in the rough. Celia Contreras, who's been on Kill Tony a bunch.
Love her.
Yeah.
She does Naked Roast Battle at Skankfest. I'm a huge fan of hers.
She's super funny. If you know Celia, she's the perfect person for the Naked Roast Battle too.
Yeah, she's
right?
hilarious.
Yeah, absolutely. How many times have you done Skankfest?
I've done all of them.
You've done all of them, really?
I've been there since we started it.
Okay.
Originally, Skankfest was a reaction to this thing called the Cinderblock Comedy Festival.
Okay.
And with the Cinderblock Comedy Festival's gimmick was there was a application fee.
Yeah.
But women and people of color only paid, I think, 2/3 of what straight white guys had to pay.
No way, really?
And that was their gimmick, that it was like an evening. But then we said, well, you're charging them still.
Yeah,
You shouldn't charge. So we, Louis J. Gomez, along with Rebecca Trent and Christine Evans, who run Skankfest, we're going to start a comedy festival that's completely free to apply to.
Yeah.
And this whole idea of charging comics is bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's the whole idea. So they did it at the Old Creek in the Cave in Long Island City.
Yeah.
I want to say it was maybe 300 people, and we thought it was the biggest thing in the world. Like,
you're just amazed that it worked out.
It
that
was
way, right?
insane. We thought it was insane that it happened.
Yeah.
And now just thousands of people come to it, and it's incredible to see where it started and where it is now.
It really is. I mean, I can only imagine how incredible it is from your perspective being part of it, but like for mine, I mean, I've been listening to Legion of Skanks, like, so for example, I don't know, it must have been 2016, 2017. I was still living in a small town in northern Michigan, and I would cut my grass literally while listening to Legion of Skanks. And that was so long ago, like some of those guys weren't even really, Big J was doing a lot, but like Lewis and Dave weren't even quite traveling really that much yet. So to see, like, from when I first started listening to that show to where it is now, it's even for me, it's been fun to kind of follow and kind of root for them and support. And now Skankfest has become legendary, right?
Yeah, it's hard not to root for them because they put the work in for so long.
Yeah.
They're the funniest, sweetest guys.
Yeah.
And, like, I just got so lucky to kind of be in that trajectory with them that I was a Legion of Skanks fan since they started.
Yeah.
I think I'm on episode like 6 or 7.
That early?
Yeah, I've been friends with them since I started comedy.
Okay, yeah, because that was my next question. Like, I'm familiar with you from that show. I've seen you on it a ton, and how did that first, how did you get into podcasting, like, in that scene? Like, is it just from being around and doing shows like everyone else, or did you know them from beforehand?
So I was, when I was a young comic, I was a doorman and a ticket guy for a little grimy comedy club in the Village, and Louis J. Gomez trained me on how to sell tickets.
Okay.
And so I was kind of always around.
Yeah.
I was a fan. I would go to all the shows.
Yeah.
And then when Louis decided to start Real Ass Podcast, I was the first guest.
Okay.
And then that kind of became a co-hosting thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've been doing Real Ass Podcast for like 9-10 years now.
Yeah.
Skanks, they've been doing for a few more years than that.
Yep.
And I've just been very lucky that I hopped in the back seat as the car was starting.
Yeah, no, I mean, you never know what's going to happen. That's literally like why I'm fascinated with comedy, especially being out in Phoenix. There are so many different shows that are growing. There's this one called Falling Apart with this guy named Chris Banks. It's like a live sketch show, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and more well known. And just being part of it, and those kind of being all the homies on the scene, like it's fun to hear you say that, because like where I'm at in my young comedy career, I'm already seeing like, okay, there are certain people that, like, if you enjoy them and you're friends with them, like, collaborate and do podcasts with them and help each other out, because as it grows, I mean, look where it's taken you. You're selling tickets all over the country now, right?
Yeah, this is my first headlining tour.
Yeah.
I've been headlining for about 2 years now.
Okay.
And just been extremely lucky.
Yeah.
Having the podcast really helps promote shows.
Yeah.
And also, I think on the negative side, there's a bit of a parasocial relationship.
Okay.
Where certain people walk up to me and they are continuing a conversation that they've been having with me for 5 years that I'm unaware of.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm so lucky to be in these people's ears so many times a week, and they're so comfortable with me, and they're so excited. By the way, the comic I was trying to say was Tristan Bowling.
Yes, it is Tristan Bowling.
I got the last name wrong, and I felt really bad.
Yeah.
And I didn't want him to think I was a jerk off. So Tristan Bowling is super funny.
Tristan, we love you. That's awesome. Yeah, that's really great. And that's exactly it. People like Tristan and people, that are out here. That's really the fun of all of this, right? It's like, yeah, it's a business, and we all have big goals and aspirations, but like it's almost like doing fun things with your friends, gets you where you need to go anyway.
If it weren't for the friendship part, it wouldn't be worth it, especially those first 10 years where you're grinding and struggling. Unless you are like a prodigy, most people, it takes about a decade to get your legs under you, I would say, depending on where you are and what opportunities you get. So the whole point of it is to be in the car with your friends. You work 15 minutes a night, but you're in the car for 4 hours, 5 hours. You're writing all day. You're doing whatever, doing podcasts. So like you got to have your crew, or else it's not really worth it.
No, I mean I'm glad to hear you say that. That's the exciting part for me too.
Yeah. Then the more you do it, the more happy you are to see people get stuff, and you realize it's nothing but a net positive when anyone in your world gets something. Because then that will lead to you being exposed to people through them clicking on them and then finding you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why I feel lucky to be able to do this podcast. Like my numbers aren't huge by any means, but it's just big enough to be able to be like, anytime I see somebody who's funny or they say something while we're hanging out and I like that guy, I always have them on the podcast. Sometimes I ask people to do the podcast who have 120 followers on Instagram and they're all shy about doing it. I'm like, I don't care at all. Like, I know you're funny. You're a good hang, really, that's really what matters most to me. And then by doing those things, it opens up other opportunities. And that's why I can be in Lexington, Kentucky and have you of all people on the show, somebody I've been listening to for years and years, so it's really a catalyst to kind of, just opening up doors, right?
Yeah, and it just, if you're having fun, that's contagious. People will recognize that, and they want to have fun with you. Like I explain podcasts at their best are a friendship experience. Like that's the whole reason you listen, for the relationship of the people. Like, and then you feel like you're part of it. You're emotionally invested in it. And you can tell when people really are friends in real life, which is what I think is really pushed myself and Lewis at Real Ass Podcast. That we are real life incredibly close. I spend a ton of time at his house. We write together. We work together. Same, Jay and Lewis are on the phone every day. Lewis and Dave are on the phone every day. We're all really close friends.
No, that's cool, man. And it's good to hear that because, like, I'm trying to do something similar in Phoenix. Not enough people in Phoenix, and no offense to anyone because I know a bunch of them are going to watch this, but, like, they're still not doing content the way that they should be doing. Everyone's bringing their phone on a tripod and getting their sets at open mics and things like that. And it works and it's fine, but I think there's a deeper connection that you get with each other and that, with the audience that you wouldn't get by not doing it. So, like, even in Phoenix, like, Louis J. Gomez is one of my hugest inspirations because with what he did with Gas Digital, the rise of that business has been absolutely phenomenal. In those early days, he was kind of the guy that they would, he'd get shit on quite a bit, and now he's this businessman, this entrepreneur, and he's traveling all over, and it's great to see that. So that's very inspiring to me, and I feel very lucky to get around people like you and some of the people like, I've worked with Barry Katz in the past before, and I'm
You've got to make yourself undeniable.
Everybody's got a Barry Katz, right? Too funny. I've been lucky enough to spend a lot of one-on-one time. I helped him build his coaching program, Blueprint for Success, and you get around people and they start telling stories, and you realize the stories are where you learn the good stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, my original manager was a disciple of Barry.
Oh, really?
So I didn't go through the Barry Katz school, but I went through one level after.
Okay, yeah. That's really funny. So, like, how did you get started with comedy? Like, was it just going to shows and being like, I could do that too?
Everything in my life, I have fallen into backwards. Okay, I have never pursued any of the things I do. I just wind up getting, like, no one has failed upwards in a weirder trajectory than me. I actually, my senior year of college, took a class called New York Comedy.
Really?
The history of New York comedy.
Okay.
And our final, you either had to do a 20-page paper or 5 minutes of stand-up.
Really?
And I decided to try to do stand-up.
Yeah.
And
did you do it for the class?
No, we actually did it. So we did it in front of the class with real comics coming in and giving us advice. So it was Dante Nero and a guy who's passed away named Ramsey Moore. It was a really funny comic. And they all watched us go up like in the morning at a comedy club.
Yeah.
And just gave us notes.
Yeah.
And then we had to do a show for real people.
Okay.
Then they called us all back in, and we did like a best of show of however many years they had done the class.
Yeah.
And it's really funny. A bunch of people in that class all work now.
Really?
And I am by and large the least successful one.
Okay.
But it's Chelsea Davidson's a very funny comic. She wrote on Mad TV. She's on TED.
Yep.
And Anna Dresden, who was on wrote on SNL for a while.
Okay.
Rachel Bloom from My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Yep.
We were all in the same class together.
Wow, that's amazing.
But yeah, I did that, and actually, so then they would bring in a real comic or two to close the show.
Yeah.
And they brought in Big J. Okerson.
Oh, really?
Who was one of my favorite comics.
Yeah.
And I just went and sat down next to him. I was like, hey, man, big fan. And we kind of bullshitted about Marilyn Manson.
Okay, yeah,
and the shit we like.
Yeah.
And then Jay's manager at the time saw my set and said, are you interested in really being a comic?
Really?
And that was a number of years ago now. So then it's actually this weekend, because I saw it in my Facebook memories. 15 years ago was my first ever club spot.
Okay.
And it was because it was the weekend Greg Giraldo died, and nobody wanted to come out and work.
Okay.
And he had so many cancellations, he called me. And he's like, can you do a weekend? And I had no act.
Yeah.
I was completely unprepared.
Really? Were you doing open mics at this point yet?
I had done 2 mics.
Really? Oh, man.
And I bombed. I mean, I just ate it.
Yeah.
And my aunt and uncle came, and they were humiliated.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You made the classic mistake of inviting people too early.
Oh, it was such a bonehead maneuver.
Yeah.
But and then after that, I think he saw I wasn't quite ready to be a spot comic.
Yeah.
But he offered me a job as a doorman.
Okay.
And I did what, for people that aren't aware, there's a spot called the check spot.
Okay.
And that's on showcase shows. You go up between the last 2 real comics while people pay their bills.
You kill that 5-10 minutes while people are paying.
And they light you when they're done with the bill.
Yeah.
So if bills take 15 minutes, you got to do 15.
Yeah.
If bills take 5, you do 5.
Okay.
But essentially, it's comedy boot camp.
Yeah.
So for 2 years, I would work the door, sell tickets, hang out at the club every night, and just go
jump in at the checks,
die.
Yeah.
Just die a million deaths. But that was comedy. That
obviously made you a stronger comedian, though, right?
Yeah, and it made me ready for it.
Yeah.
And I did that at another club for a while, and then eventually I just started going on the road.
Yeah. Okay. How did you get on the road for the first time?
I was a guest spot for Lewis.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
yeah, Lewis took me on the road. It would be the host, me, a feature act, and Lewis.
Yeah.
And eventually, I think the other 2 guys wound up quitting.
Okay.
And then I became Lewis's feature. Yeah. And around then, we started Real Ass Podcast.
Falling backwards into something yet again.
And
right?
once again just it's just showing up.
Yeah.
Showing up, being positive, and not being a dick.
Yep. Yeah. Not to bring up Barry Katz again, but Barry Katz says the key to all this is just being a good hang, right?
Yeah, more or less. Like if you're gonna be stuck in the car with somebody, you don't want to be stuck in the car with somebody you don't like.
Yeah. And there's always somebody you don't like, right?
Not all the time. It depends.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get on each other's nerves depending on the situation, but it's everyone picks their openers based on who they want to go on trips with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. So going out on the road, this is your first headlining tour, you said, right?
Yep.
Okay. So obviously did some research, looked into a little bit about you. How did the people stapling money onto you?
Okay, so I only do that at like Skankfest. I'll do it.
Okay. That's not like an every show type of thing.
Never.
Okay.
No. Okay. I think it would be kind of cheating.
Yeah.
That's like stunt shit. It's not what I do.
Yeah.
I'll do it if I get booked on like a burlesque night, or I've done the Coney Island. I've done stand up at the Coney Island Freak Show.
Okay.
I'll do it there.
Yeah.
Because it's appropriate.
Okay.
And that came out of I love professional wrestling. B, I actually have a lot of friends in the sideshow world.
Really?
That are freak show performers.
Okay.
Two of my friend, the Reverend Arlo Price, and then my tattoo artist, Dr. Claw, are both full-time sideshow performers. Yeah. And that's how a lot of sideshow acts get extra money.
Yeah.
They say you can, and they give prices for parts, $1 if it's on my arm, $5 on my chest, $20 on the face.
Yeah. Damn. Okay.
And when we started doing Skankfest, I was like, I should. That's what a unique thing, like what a different weird thing.
Yeah.
And that kind of started it. Okay. So I usually only do it at like specialty shows.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I mean, you definitely wouldn't want to be doing that every single show.
I know people that do it every night for a living.
Really?
And yeah, it takes its toll on you. I do it twice a year at Skankfest, and after that second night, I'm pretty beat up. Yeah. Because I'll take like 20 or 30.
Damn, really?
Yeah.
Where do they like to focus on?
Everybody loves the forehead. So you have to upcharge the cheek and the forehead.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that's the one that's like it sounds the coolest, it looks the coolest. But by the end, I'm covered.
Yeah. Damn. Okay, so the pro wrestling thing, that makes more. This whole thing makes more sense when you realize you're a pro wrestling fan. You know?
Yeah, huge pro wrestling fan. My whole life.
Your whole life as a kid.
Obsessed with it. Yeah, my first conversation I remember in my life is telling my grandfather I wanted to be Mr. Perfect's tag team partner.
Oh, really?
That's the first conversation I ever remember having. Okay. I had to be like 3 or 4.
Okay, so you're involved in pro wrestling now in some ways, right?
Yeah, I moonlight as a manager for a couple wrestling companies. Yeah, I've had a death match. Okay, a one-off. And that was kind of a dream come true type thing.
For sure, right?
They said to me, "Hey, stick with us long enough, we'll figure it out." Yeah. And I worked with somebody I happen to be really good friends with. Yeah. And he definitely, he carried me through it. Yeah. I trained a bit, enough that he could. I mean, it could have been a crash test dummy, and he would have had the same match. Okay.
Okay. And he really just took the lead for you. Huh?
He did everything. Yeah. And he took great care of me. Yeah. And it was something I always wanted to do.
Yeah. Was it as fun as you had hoped?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. Okay.
I loved it, and I got pretty hurt. I actually got a really bad cut. If you see the big scar across my forehead.
That's what that's from?
Yeah. Shit. I had a light tube break sideways.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was really bad. You saw my skull.
Yeah. Wow.
And I super glued it together backstage.
Did you really?
Because I didn't want to go to the hospital. And all the wrestlers looked at me, and they went, "He wants the scar." And I went, "Yeah, I do. I really
do." Especially with the story that comes with it. Like,
I wasn't that good looking to begin with. It wasn't really I wasn't going to go down any points with scars.
Yeah. Oh, my God. No, so you've truly got to do some of what I can only imagine were like your wildest dreams as a kid, right?
I somehow have manifested everything that I love. I've gotten to be involved in some shape or form.
Yeah, the secret's just going out and doing stuff, right?
I think it's just showing up and being cool and smiling and having fun and being respectful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's a term in wrestling: mouth closed, ears open.
Yep.
And I think that goes for every industry.
Okay, I like that. That makes sense. So you've got to do some, just truly amazing things, as things keep going good. Your online presence gets bigger and it kind of opens up some opportunities. One thing I wanted to ask about was your recent appearance on Kill Tony, right? You're on the episode with Ric Flair.
It's kind of gotten away from me at this point.
Yeah, no, I assume you probably get asked about this a lot, right?
Yeah, I it's definitely gotten away from me. It was not my intention.
Yeah.
It just kind of happened that way.
Right.
I feel bad.
Yeah.
Because obviously Tony's a huge wrestling fan. Tony's been great to me over the years.
Yep.
Given me a lot of opportunities. Always been very kind to me. That's not the way he wanted that to go.
Right. No, obviously.
And it had to happen.
Yeah.
It was just a perfect nightmare.
Yeah. No, my biggest question this whole time, and obviously, while it was happening, did it feel as awkward as it looked? Like
it was 100 times worse.
Okay, really?
It was because I didn't want it to go bad. There's
you're
nothing more I wanted than it to be great.
Yeah,
and for us to all get along and be joking.
Yeah.
And have fun, and then like go out for drinks after.
Of course, like as a lifelong wrestling fan and being a participant, like having Ric Flair there literally must have been a dream. So I did not imagine.
And I didn't know he was going to be there until 10 minutes before we taped.
Damn. Okay, so you didn't have any time.
I had no time to prepare.
Or meet.
And then I just sat next to him backstage, and I didn't bother him.
Yeah.
Because, the last thing he needs is another fat guy saying, I've been watching you my whole life.
Right.
So I just let him, hang out.
Yeah.
And then I was slowly getting the idea that he wasn't completely with it at the moment.
Okay.
And
before you went out on stage, you were already kind of getting
I had the idea that maybe he had stopped at an establishment or two that served alcohol.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, it was, I just, in retrospect, and this is not Tony's fault, I don't think he understood the concept.
Yeah, that was evident.
Because when we were backstage, Tony said, very matter of fact, it's like American Idol or The Gong Show. Mm-hmm. We're going to pull names, they do a minute, and then we're going to compliment them or we roast them or we have a conversation with them. It can go funny, whatever. And then Ric Flair goes, okay, but then when's the Q&A?
Yeah.
And he goes, there is none. He goes, what do you mean? And he's like, we're just going to talk to the comics. He goes, but when are they going to ask me about wrestling? He's like, they're not. And then like 10 minutes later, he goes, but wait, when's the Q&A?
Oh, no.
And I went, oh, he's...
oh, boy.
He doesn't know. And then he opened up the show by listing all the wrestlers that died that year.
Yep.
And just... And I don't think he realized that Kill Tony's such a popular show that people were there who might not know about wrestling or his legacy.
Yeah.
So... I think it confused him.
Yeah.
Like, why isn't this my show?
Right.
Or why aren't they more excited?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm used to being the star, being interviewed.
Yeah, like, and then it was just what a horrible group of people to have to share attention with between myself, Tony Lewis, and then Mark Norman, Shane Gillis, and Ari Shaffir.
Yeah.
Who everyone in that group is a nice guy.
Yeah.
I will vouch for times a million.
Yeah.
But we are also stand-up comedians who make a living being vicious with one another.
At the highest level.
And we all came up being brutally roasted and abused by each other.
Yeah.
So we are no stranger to having to not pull punches.
Yeah.
And as the situation devolved, it did become a bit of a Lord of the Flies situation.
Yeah, no, you could feel it happening. Yeah. You could see you guys kind of like keeping your mouths a little, like just trying to play it cool, hoping it'll gloss over at first. And there's just a point where like...
Unfortunately, the only thing that glossed over was his eyes.
Yeah.
As the evening went on.
Yeah, no, it was fun to watch. It made for great content.
I loved it. And then I've found out like since then that a lot of wrestlers have watched it.
Yeah, okay.
And I find that really funny.
Yeah.
That's like my introduction to my heroes.
Yeah.
A few months ago, my wife and I were watching one of the pay-per-views, and Rick's daughter, Charlotte, who's incredible, was wrestling, and my wife just leans over and she goes, I bet she fucking hates you.
Oh, no, but what a fun thing. When you're a young comic dreaming of the things that could happen to you, what a fun story, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I still get woos at shows, and people will bring Ric Flair stuff for us to all autograph.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's super. I have no ill will or I have no. I'm not gonna like be shitty about the guy.
Yeah,
it was just a calamity.
Yep.
And I he's still the cool, like he's still him.
Yeah, right.
He's never not gonna be him. That's how great he is.
Yeah.
But it was a unique opportunity and situation.
I love it, man. I love it. That was so funny. Well, I'm glad I got to see it from your perspective. You know what I mean? So you have a show to do tonight, and they're definitely getting ready to do it. Last thing I want to ask you, and again, this is one of my little selfish questions, is, if you were to start over today, a brand new comic, how would you go about things? Would you be content first? Would you be focused on just on your act? Like, I'm about a year in, and I'm trying to kind of get my footing. Like, obviously, I have the podcast where I feel like I've probably got to skip a couple steps because of that, but if you were new again right now, knowing what how would you go about things?
Always be funny first.
Okay.
It's your act, it's your content and your act go hand in hand.
Yeah.
They're equally important.
Yeah.
The thing I would go back and tell myself is nose to the grindstone.
Yep.
don't be. I had a few years where I was really bitter, where I'd watch people at my level get things, and I would be mad, and I was 100% wrong. Everyone has their own path and journey. No one's going to get things at the same time. You're going to watch people younger than you get stuff. You're going to watch people at your level who aren't crushing get stuff. It's because that was their spot. There was something for them at that time. It wasn't ever for you.
I love that,
everyone's got their own journey. As long as you're funny and having fun, you will. If you're truly a funny person, you will find success. There is no one who's a truly funny person who doesn't make some way of making a living within comedy. And you can't focus on what other people have. You just got to be yourself and enjoy it, because you're gonna blink and you've been doing it for 10 years.
I love that.
Just have fun, enjoy it, never get jealous, never get bitter, and enjoy it.
Love that. Cool, man. Well, this was a blast. This is one of my cool comedy moments. I'm glad I got to meet you.
Oh, thank you so much, man. I really enjoyed it.
We'll be here for the show tonight, so we're going to check out the whole thing. We know some of the local openers, so, looking forward to seeing you do your thing tonight, and hopefully next time you're out in Phoenix, let's do this again, all right?
Absolutely. Truly appreciate it, brother. Thank you for having me.
All right, guys. I'm Jake James. This is Jake James and Friends. We will see you next time. Thanks, man.
Thank you very much, dude. Appreciate it.